Okay, how is everybody doing tonight? I say everybody, I don't see anybody in here, but that's okay. Welcome to the second episode of the Gospel of Cleasy. This is your boy D Freezy, aka Cleasy for Sheezy. Um, yeah, I got a lot to talk about this week. I think I am in better control of uh, the controls. So I'm gonna start it off tonight like this. Um, let's start off with this one.
Oh yeah, yeah, the Elon Musk. So yeah, sure. So Elon called me. As you know, he endorsed me full throated. Great endorsement. I respect.
Okay, so this week, one of the things 45, 34 felon did was come out. He was talking about the endorsement from Elon Musk, owner of Twitter, Tesla, number SpaceX. Um, so he said, I don't know if you heard it, but he said that Elon gave him a full throated endorsement. Pause. Okay, let's pause on that. Like, let's just back it up again because I'm just petty like that.
Elon Musk. So yeah, sure. So Elon called me. As you know, he endorsed me full throated.
Pause. Yeah, what the hell are you talking about, bro? You crazy. That's wild. So, you know, I don't know what kind of uh you know, I just leave it there. Um, yeah. So that was funny to me, and I always want to start out on a funny note. Yeah, Donald Trump came out and said Elon Musk gave him a full throated endorsement. No disrespect to anybody. I don't know. That's a interesting choice of words. I don't know if uh, I've ever heard it put in that way. So wanted to talk about that. Um, yeah. So talking about the news this week. Well, I guess everybody's talking about the Olympics, right? So Sha'ccari, I wanted to get my video background and everything set up so I could have her in my background. Um, you know, everybody, the photo I love was when she was in, I think it was the four by 100 or 4x400. Um, yeah, the 4x100. And when they handed her the baton, she was slightly behind, but she quickly made up the gap and passed them. And then she just looked to her, uh, looked over her shoulder as she was passing them, just to make sure, just to say, in the story I got earlier was about her and the sister from Jamaica. I can't, Shelly Ann Frazier, I believe her name is. Uh, they said that during the 100 final, they uh, evidently didn't stay in the Olympic Village, and so when they got to the gate, they weren't allowed entry, and then they were made to walk from the gate, which was to the track, which was more than a mile away. So Shelly Ann Frazier, I heard something else that suggested she may have um, injured herself, but Sha'ccari got the bronze, I believe, in the or the silver. I'm sorry, um, and she had to walk a mile to compete in the final for the 100 meter. So future still bright. I expect to see her again in LA in 2028. I love her. I love her because she went through so much adversity. I don't know if it was the World Finals or what it was. There was some uh, insinuation or innuendo. Well, I guess she may have tested positive for marijuana, or there was something about marijuana, and you know, many people immediately, and then she ran a race and she didn't finish very well. And then people were so quick to jump on and be like, "That's why you shouldn't be smoking weed and this and all that." And I don't know her story, but I know that for a young person to have all of that going on, Sister Jordan Childs had to give back a medal this week. Um, it was something about her judges questioned uh, the difficulty rating for her routine, and she was subsequently awarded the bronze. I think it was the bronze, and because they didn't do it in enough time, they were 4 seconds too late or something dumb like that. She was made to give the bronze medal back, and she said that she was removing herself from social media um, because she had to process it, and that's just to let you know the pressures that these young people are under with all this social media and stuff. It's a gift and a curse. I say it all the time, and I heard on the radio a ad about um, it was an ad about a class action lawsuit because they found out that Instagram had been connected to eating disorders and um, you know suicidal tendencies. So that just lets you know that um, there are some toxic parts or toxic elements to this social media stuff. Everybody is. I think I posted it the other day. Everybody thinks that um, everything they see on. They think that, first of all, no one posts when they're going through. Well, most people don't post when they're going through trials and tribulations, as we used to say in uh, the black church. Um, nobody posts that usually. So the only thing you're seeing in social media is the best part of people's lives. You don't see the problems they have. You don't see the issues nobody gets on social media and say my light bill is late. I don't know what I'm gonna do and I don't have the money. You typically don't see posts like that. You only see good things, and that tends to give you an altered view of reality. And so you you need to take what you see with a grain of salt. The saying used to be, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. Now it's more like believe a third of what you see, I would say. But anyway, um, yeah, Sister Sha'ccari, I'm gonna share that too, and we can watch her with the we're America all the way. But that's okay. I don't think that's a bad thing. So yeah, that was the big thing in sports. I guess in sports and entertainment that I was tuned into. The Olympics is over now. I think they're having the closing ceremonies now, and then 2028 will be the next Summer Games, and that will be in Los Angeles. They had Snoop. Shout out to Snoop, man. He is a global ambassador now, and no disrespect, he is a global icon, and that's pretty good from a kid from Long Beach who grew up, in not the best of circumstances. So I love to see it. Um, I heard somebody saying I'm getting in Snoop business now. Snoop, if I'm wrong, you know, I don't mean no disrespect, but I saw somewhere they said he was getting like a $500,000 a day. So it's nice work if you can get it. I'm not hating on that. You know, and I hope you get it again. Well, it's gonna be in LA. So yeah, Snoop and Dre performed. Um, I think it was Dre Day they performed on in the closing ceremony because they kind of handed the torch from Paris to LA. So that was the big thing in the entertainment world. I want to move into politics now, and I'll probably spend politics and politics as it pertains to black people. Um, so I one thing I wanted to mention first was I heard Dr. Jerome Fox on the Carl Nelson show this week, and he had uh, he says a lot of interesting things. And if you don't know, let me see. Dr. Fox is the author of this book. I don't know if you can see the word, so it's called "Addicted to White: The Oppressed in League with the Oppressor, a Shame-Based Alliance" by Dr. Jerome Fox. And it's a workbook to basically teach us how to um, get out of the mentality that we're inferior and that in all ways to everyone and to white people in particular. So he was talking about voting, and one of the things he said was, and I hope this. Well, you take it for what it's worth. He said, you know, ab- he was speaking about black people saying one side is just as bad as the other, and what he said was that if we're looking for a political party to free us, neither political party is going to free us, right? Um, we have to free ourselves. The brother Paul Scott says, and the Black Messiah says, "Stop waiting for a savior and be one." Shout out to them. Peace to them always. Um, so we can't look for the Democrats or the Republicans to free us. We can't expect people outside of our culture to do what we have to do for ourselves. Um, what we can do is make a choice on which one is going to impede us or harm us the least while we get our stuff together and do what we need to do to liberate ourselves. So I think that's a lot to unpack in that statement. I often say black people think voting is a magic pill. I kind of alluded to that on last week's episode. Um, it's not going to voting alone is not going to fix the problems that we as a people face. It's one part of the process, but it is a part, and um, you have to get active locally. Uh, I was listening to what was I listening to? I can't even remember, but they were talking about how the Republican parties of the South have gone in and taken over state and local politics, and they have been able to gerrymander the voting districts so that they can disperse the power of people who, these districts that are predominantly black, predominantly Hispanic, predominantly anything other than white. And there was a big case in North Carolina a few years ago, and the judge said something to the effect of they went into um, high minority districts and targeted them with a laser like precision. You can look it up. And they made them the I don't know if it was the state, it might have been the U.S. Supreme Court, made them redraw the districts because they were basically drawing a line through the districts where they were heavily populated with other ethnic groups other than white people. And as Dr. Neely Fuller says, I don't know if you know who he is. If you don't, you should probably listen to him. You may not agree with everything he says, but you should listen and process it. Um, he says basically there's only three kinds of people, right? There's white supremacists, white people, and non-white. And he said by categorizing them in that manner, you eliminate a lot of the confusion with what we call each other and what we call ourselves. And it makes a lot of sense. So think about that. And if you can catch Dr. Neely Fuller anywhere, I suggest you take an hour or two and just listen. Um, there is useful information being given. But yeah, so Dr. Fox said that, and in his book, Addicted to White, the oppressed in league with the oppressor, a shame-based alliance. Um, he talks about the values that we take on because we are dominated by um, white supremacy. I won't say white people, I'll say white supremacy because, um, yeah, I'll just say it that way. One white value number one: everything white is good, superior, or valuable. Everything black is bad, inferior, or worthless. You heard that before. I think MC Search from third base, he said black cat is bad luck. Black bad guys wear that black. Must have been a white guy who invented all that. And he's a Jewish guy, I believe. But he said that on Gas Face by third base. So that's a white value. Um, I was going to read some of it. It says that this imbalanced perspective is strengthened by a subconscious directive to distrust and summarily dismiss any activity or person that dares to challenge it. Um, i.e., Khalid Muhammad, his youth million Black Youth March, or Sam Greenlee Jr., author of the classic "The Spook Who Sat by the Door." The Spook Who Sat by the Door. That's a Cleasy recommendation right there. If you haven't seen that, I recommend you tune in to see it. If you can find it, it is still resonates today and talks about empower and self empowerment. I'll put it that way. White value number two: tangibles are valuable, intangibles are worthless. Hence, things are to be pursued more vigorously than relationships. Yeah, and he talked about how because we're so geared around individualism over collectivism that we and that's what he's talking about here. We covet things, material items more than we covet the collective good. So once we obtain those things, we're uh, not we're reluctant to give them up, and you know that's one reason I'm not a huge fan of capitalism because everything is based around um, who has the most toys. I know you've seen it on a T-shirt before. The one who the one who has the most toys at the end wins, and that's kind of how people operate. I was reading something that said, people get some kind of chemical reaction when they buy things. It makes them feel better. Same thing when we scroll, and get likes. All that releases some kind of dopamine, and it gives us this feeling of euphoria. So, really, like you're programming yourself to consume something. That's something really deep to think about. Um, White value number three: white oppressors are trustworthy recorders and interpreters of history and reality. I'll say that again. White oppressors are trustworthy recorders and interpreters of history and reality. So, first thing that pops in my head is the book by Carter G. Woodson, The Miseducation of the Negro. Um, we know that we have been miseducated, and we know that much of the history of Black people has been omitted, hidden, erased, um, any other adjective you can think that would describe an attempt to hide. And you have to ask yourself why that is. Why? I mean, I talk about language all the time. Even the term Black history is racist. The term Black history is racist, but we had to make a discipline called Black History or African American Studies or whatever it's called because so much of our history had been omitted. And our great ones like Dr. John Heinrich Clark, Dr. Ben Yohannan, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, uh, Dr. Barashanga Eshamu, I can't say his name. Um, Ishkamush, I'm sorry, I can't say his name. I always mess it up. I'm tongue tied. Boy from the South. Apologize. But um Malefi Asante, I mean, the list goes on and on. They had to go and find our history and teach it to us outside of the mainstream education system. And if not for people, them and people like them, we would be even more lost than we are. So shout out to them. And basically what he's saying here is uh, the history that you've been taught is not your history, and it leads to a number of problems. You have to think about how a people with no sense of their own history behave. And if you think about that, look around and you'll see the effects of that. That's why I'm so reluctant to talk disparagingly about black people and their behavior, regardless of what it is. I'm very slow to criticize because I know we all have been educated in a system of miseducation, especially for us. I talk about, and I'm going to have Christopher Everett on the show. I don't know if I mentioned him on the first episode, but he is the creator of the film Wilmington on Fire. Uh, and I got to know him and became what I would hope he would consider a friend, um, because I didn't know about the Wilmington. They call it a race riot. It was a massacre. We still don't know how many people were, you know, killed and thrown in the river. I was trying to think of a politically correct way to say it, but it's not, and I don't know why I would need to be politically correct about um, the unjustified murder of my ancestors and ancestors of people from the area I'm from. But I didn't know anything about it until I was a grown man. Um, I think the first time I ever heard anything about it, the Democratic Party of North Carolina apologized, and the first question I had was, "What are you talking about?" 1898 in Wilmington. Grew up 30 minutes from there, and I never knew about it. They didn't teach us it. They didn't teach us anything about it in school. In the schools I went to, some of my friends say they were taught about it. So when I learned about it, it incensed me. It infuriated me, and then I heard a gentleman from the Greenwood District of Oklahoma, and he had the same story. He didn't learn about what happened in Tulsa in 1921. I think it was 21 until he was in college, and he argued his professor down. And he's like, "No, I'm from there. What are you talking about? That never happened." They just don't tell us about what has been done to the people that come before us, and so the end result of that is people saying racism was so long ago. And that's one of the reasons I do so much reading and studying, because the truth is there, but it's not on the surface. So if you only reading surface level information, you'll never get to it. They'll, they'll give you one page about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, and that's all you'll have about Black history. And everything else is, you know, John Kennedy and Woodrow Wilson and the presidents, as if our race never contributed anything meaningful to the history of mankind. And the opposite is actually true. We are the creators of a lot of things. A lot of things that are passed off as Western civilization actually are came from Africa. There's a good book by Dr. John Jackson, Stolen Legacy. I think it's John Jackson. Yeah, John Jackson. I get him and George mixed up. But George was one of the Soledad brothers. Shout out to him. Shout out to all the revolutionaries. Um, White value number 4. I just said this. Individualism is better than collectivism. Hence, obligations to the group are subordinate to personal gain. I just said that. Yeah. Per, you're out for yourself, forget everybody else. And then white value number 5, and I think this is the last one. I won't go on and on. The best way to feel good about yourself is by surpassing, outdoing, and defeating someone else in an activity, achievement, or personal characteristic. So to identify yourself as exceptional, you know, it's goes completely in the face of collectivism, or you know, I dare say socialism. When you say socialism, people think you mean communism, but communism is a form of socialism, but it's not the only form. There's a thing called democratic socialism. Look it up. So so I wanted to talk about that. And again, if you can find this, read it. Addicted to White, Dr. Jerome Fox. So wanted to talk about that. Oh, Trump said something crazy about Martin Luther King too, but who cares? I mean, he said something crazy every day. I will never forget that he said he got a full-throated endorsement though. That's wild. So the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and I guess I'm right on schedule, is good. Representative Cori Bush, Democratic representative out of the state of Missouri. To the best of my knowledge, Sister Cori was from Ferguson. She was an activist in when everything was happening around the Mike Brown case, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, I ain't reading the comment. Oh, ain't nobody here anyway. All right, all good. Um, excuse me. All right, I'm getting it together, y'all. Sorry. Uh, yeah. So she was active in when the Mike Brown thing happened in Ferguson, and she subsequently ran for office and won. She was a part of the squad, if I'm not mistaken, which is Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, and Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and it's one other person. I can't remember their name right off the top of my head. I apologize. Um, but yeah, so she lost her she lost her campaign for reelection. And she has some interesting things to say, and I'm going to show what she had to say, and then we're going to talk about it. So hang on just a second. Monroe, North Carolina, former NAACP chairman, former chairman of the NAACP chapter of the Monroe chapter of the NAACP. I'll get it right in a minute. Or Malcolm X, who said that violence in the defense of oneself and property and loved ones is not violence, it's intelligence. I'm not going to discount violence because we live on a violent planet. Nature is violent. We just had tornadoes here in North Carolina this week due to Hurricane Debbie. That was violent. So I'm skeptical of people who want to talk about not being violent when Black people are wronged. And especially if we're wronged in a violent way. The first thing that's called for is peace after we're violently wronged. I don't subscribe to that. I also don't subscribe to just blanketly painting a group. Um, in most cases, it's a case by case basis. Um, I'm not. I am first and foremost for the liberation of my people, and those that intend or have done things to oppress us and harm us are enemies of mine, and I will treat them as such. That being said, the thing that bothers me, so this is the second black politician that APAC has unceremoniously uh, just basically ran out of office by using money. They have a tremendous amount of capital and backing. Um, Jamal Bowman in New York, same thing happened to him. He was defeated because APAC funded his opponent. And I think the report I heard was, excuse me, the report I heard was that it was the most money spent in a primary campaign in the history of this country. Now, the reason that these two politicians, black politicians, were targeted by APAC is because they said that they were anti-Semitic or not pro-Israel, because they both were very vocal in calling for the a ceasefire in Gaza. And so let me help you understand how this pyramid. So it's a pyramid. So, and APAC is the political and public relations arm. The No, APAC is the political arm. The public relations arm of this apparatus that I'm describing is the ADL, the Anti Defamation League. And you've seen the ADL go after, just off the top of my head, they've gone after Kyrie Irving. They've gone after Kanye West. They've gone after, um, who else did they go after? They've gone after Nick Cannon. They've gone after Progressive Professor Griff long ago, which ironically, they went after Nick Cannon after he had Professor Griff on his show. And my question, and I'm who am I to question, but why, Griff, why you ain't hit Nick Cannon well was probably gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? And that's no disrespect to Griff. I got respect for Griff. But you went through the exact same thing 20, 30 years ago. So I don't understand why you should be like, yo, we probably shouldn't go there. But anyway, they really came after Nick. He had to take Wild Night off. And I like Nick Cannon a lot. I like Griff a lot. I like these politicians a lot. But they went after Kyrie, and Kyrie only retweeted a video that was being shown on Amazon, but they went after Kyrie and didn't go after Amazon. So, so APAC is a political group. They go after black politicians. The ADL goes after black people in entertainment with platforms that you know where people, if they have a huge following, they use them as sacrificial lambs. Now, at the top of these two groups is a group called B'nai B'rith. Look into who that is. ADL comes out of B'nai B'rith. So you got APAC political, you got the ADL public relations, then you got the JDL, which is the Jewish Defense League. And when you look at them, look at a man named Mayor Meir Kahane. He's from New York, and look at what he was about and what the JDL did. But this is my thing. I don't have anything against, and I could go deep. I could go really deep. But I'm not gonna go really deep tonight because we're running out of time for one thing, and you know, um, but I got the receipts. So if we need to get into it, we can get into it. Um, my question is, where in history can someone show me where black people as a group have ever done anything to people of the Jewish faith? And I'll go further. Now, if something happened between a black person and a Jewish person, and the black person may have not known they were Jewish, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about where has an organized group of black people left or did any left any place, going anywhere with the intention to specifically harm Jewish people? Because I don't know of one, and I'm not trying to be funny. I just want to know when black people have ever did anything. The things that Jewish people went through, they went. I mean, the worst things that Jewish people went through, they went through in Europe, and it was at the hands of other Europeans. So I don't understand why all this energy. And the other thing is, what's going on? What's happening to the people of Gaza is genocide. I just, as I said at the beginning, I'm against the oppression of anybody anywhere. And what is happening to the people of Gaza, from what I can see, is oppression. And the justification for it is that they need to get Hamas. Well, I'm skeptical that's the true reason, because if you track the people of Gaza to the point that you know how many calories each one of them gets per day, and that's happening, you mean to tell me you don't have information on who is Hamas and who is not, and you suspect that these children that are dying are Hamas? I don't, I, And so what I want to make clear is criticism of that is not anti-Semitic, in my opinion. And like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but what it seems to me that is taking place is that because of the political influence and the money, can't forget the money that these people have, the groups that I named have, that it is such that any criticism of them can be labeled in that way. And I don't think Representative Cori Bush or Jamal Bowman ever said anything about harming Jewish people, at a Jewish person or the Jewish people as a whole. And that's all I'll say about that. And my question is, why do they the general line that I hear is Jews and black people share a common struggle. And I don't think y'all really want the investigation into that statement. But my only thing is, black people have not done anything to Jewish people that I know of. And if I'm wrong, please send me a comment, a chat, call me, whatever you want to do. But I don't know, and nor do I think we want to harm them. We want to be liberated ourselves. That that shouldn't mean, and doesn't mean in my mind, that we want anybody else to be oppressed for us to be liberated. We just want to be liberated. And so when these people come after these celebrities and politicians, is in my opinion, it's because we're an easy target and you don't think we can do anything back to you. And it's akin to in slavery days, the plantation days, when there was an unruly slave that wanted to get out of that would get out of line, would back talk the master, and so you crucified him to scare everybody else. And I don't believe in persuading people through fear. So and why should we fear you? We have done nothing to we have done nothing as a group to to the Jewish people. We have not. And there's a lot of history. There's a book from the Nation of Islam called "The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews." Um, but there's some other things that I've read, and I will be glad to discuss it with anyone that wants to come on this show and discuss it. And that wants more information about the history. But my only point is I don't know of a organized group of black people that have set out to do anything harmful to anyone of the Jewish faith. And I said Jewish faith on purpose because there's a lot of confusion around that. And, like I said, maybe I will get somebody on the show that is more, well, that we can discuss it, and I would love, um, whatever. The Nick Cannon thing really bothered me. I I like Nick Cannon. So he and I really dislike what they did to him and what they made him do and how they made him look. And he didn't say anything harmful. Um, he didn't incite any kind of, you know, it's just he didn't say anything harmful. And for the the offense or the punishment was way too severe for whatever offense it was. And I never got a good but the same thing with Professor Griff. When Public Enemy was at the height of their career and all this happened, and there's a lot that I won't say because I love all of them and I would never disrespect them in private or in person. So and that's between them. A lot of times we start taking sides, and it ain't even our beef. So I'm not gonna do that. I just know that I love Griff. I saw Griff at the Art Cool Festival. He was right out there with everybody else. But you know, I'm just tired of seeing that. I'm tired of seeing a a misunderstanding or a misquote or valid criticism. I'm tired of seeing valid criticism being called hateful. That's like if I see two people on the street and one is beating on the other, and I say, "Hey, stop beating him." That's like the person that's doing the beating saying, "Hey, you must hate me." No, I don't hate you. I love you both, and I don't want to see either one of you harm. You know. Now, there's a whole lot of politics, and and the regime that is in charge in Israel now is questionable. And we can talk about that too. We can talk about some offenses that have been levied out by, not received by, that have been given out. What's going on in Gaza right now is an offense. It's an offense to humanity. It's an offense to mankind. Anytime, but let me say the same thing is going on in the motherland. Um, and there are those who will say, well, but I would tell you this: go back and look at people like Stokely Carmichael and Malcolm X and other revolutionaries of that time, the '60s and early '70s, late '50s. Go back and look at, excuse me, their stance on the people of Palestine. They were aligned with the people of Palestine, and they felt like what was happening to them was unjust, and they felt like the people responsible for the mistreatment and unjustness were some of the same people that oppress us, black people here. So, you know, you can say they ain't got nothing to do with me, but if it's the same people doing it, it has something to do with you. And I submit that there are some of the same people involved in what's happening there that's involved in our oppression here and the oppression of African people all over the world. Isn't it a coincidence that everywhere in the world that melanated people and European people exist, the European people are superior in a superior socio-economic status than the non-European or melanated people? Do you think that's a coincidence? I think it's a pattern, and I don't think it happened by accident. So my challenge to you is challenge me and ask me for the information so you can have it for yourself. All right. And shout out to Tribe Worldwide. This is my they got some dope stuff. Shout out to the ancestors who slaughtered their slave masters. This is my Juneteenth shirt. I wear it all the time. They got some dope stuff. Hit them. Um, I think they're online on Facebook, whatever. But yeah, so that's all I had to say tonight. Nobody joined me, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep on keeping on. Uh, and I still have some bugs to work out, but I did better than I did the first one. So if I get better every episode, you know, in a few weeks, I'm gonna be bad. I'm gonna be like Michael Jackson. A lot of you kids don't remember that song. Okay, well, that is what I have for you tonight. I hope that if and when you see this, you enjoy it. And please like, share, subscribe. Hopefully, one of these days somebody will call me and we can have some back and forth. But if not, I'll continue to talk to myself. I'm an only child, or I was raised as an only child, so I've been talking to myself a long time, and I will talk to myself some more. Black Power, peace, Cleasy out.